Morning, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to Money in the Morning, aka Economic Elevation, aka Financial Consciousness. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. I'm your friendly neighborhood finance professor, and I want to say happy Monday to all my investors up in here, everybody in here that's building wealth for your family, that has taken generational wealth seriously, that has decided to break the generational curses. I congratulate you because your family is going to succeed where others might struggle. Anyway, it's a Monday and I'm feeling good today. It's just so you know, today is February 23rd. I'm gonna start try to see if I can remember to say the date every morning because I know some of you actually have all the recordings of these classes and you're watching them and maybe you'd want to know what day it is when we're talking. So I'm gonna try to get in the habit of doing that. And in fact, actually, at some point, I will send you a link if you want to actually buy all the recordings. It won't cost that much, but it's a little investment in your learning, but also it helps the Black Business School because we're building the next great HBCU. I don't think there's ever been an HBCU like this. In fact, I know that there hasn't been because one of the things that we found actually when I got together with all my PhDs and the financial scientists that we have that we work with is that there is very little research being done on Black financial psychology. It was really fascinating. Like you would think that a group of people that has been hit so hard by the slave mentality that has gone through what we've gone through, that went through 250 years of the most brutal slavery in the history of mankind, that went through 100 years of Jim Crow, that went through 40, 50 years of the war on drugs, that went through mass incarceration. You would think that there would be some sort of study on how that affects our thinking when it comes to our wealth, right? You would think that there should be thousands of research papers written on this. Like I can tell you, as a scholar, I remember seeing just thousands of papers written on damn near everything else involving finances, things that white men care about. And what we found with our scholars is that there was nothing. Like we went through the literature to see, like, okay, what's been done? What work has been done in this area? Because it's so important, it's so impactful, and nothing. Like, there's nothing, right? So that explains a big part of the reason why the black wealth problem has not been solved. Like I've dedicated my life to this. I don't, but it's not hard. It's not hard to solve the black wealth problem. I've already solved it. It's easy to solve. There's easy little simple metrics that every family can apply that will elevate your economic condition. Like, so that's not a mystery, just so you know. Like, we're not trying to figure out like, oh, why can't black people build wealth? No, it's not. That's like a 2 plus 2 type thing. The challenge has been how do we get people to apply the things that we already know, right? Like we already know what will make you economically healthy. We already know what will break the generational curses. We already know what will keep the families together. We already know what will allow the children to have a shot at being millionaires. Definitely multi thousandaires, like 100,000, 200,000, 400,000 in the bank, that type of thing. Easy, easy. I kid you not. I'm not bragging, but that's just what I do. That's what we do, right? What has been the goal though is like it's like okay, it's time to stop talking about it. We got to be about it, right? What the goal is? How do you confront culture and habit formation that runs in the exact opposite direction of what you're trying to accomplish? I always compare it to when I used to be fat. Y'all remember the Fat Boys a lot of y'all remember. A lot of y'all go back. If you're an OG, you remember the Fat Boys. Up until I got with my wife in 2017, I was starting to turn into a big fat roly poly. I was. Yeah, if I would have came in class, y'all would have been like, "Is that Roland Martin right there?" I'm playing. Me and Roland, we have a little long-standing kind of thing. I don't think I think he really hates me. I don't hate him. I kind of, he's fun. I think he's cute. But anyway, but still though, like I was really getting you know and here's the thing though, it wasn't like I didn't know how to lose weight, right? I knew exactly where the gym was. I even had a membership. I knew what food was making me fat. I knew I was a PhD. By that time I'd literally had my doctorate for 12 years, so you would think that I would know that Skittles are not as good for you as vegetables are. That going to the gym every day is better than not going to the gym, and that if I was to go out and say run 2 or 3 miles every day, that I would probably lose weight. I knew these things. It wasn't not lack of knowledge that stopped me. I just didn't do it. It was habits. It was my habits betrayed me. Do you understand what I mean? It was my own internalized Willie Lynch. Thank you, Joshan. It was my own Willie Lynch that did it. It wasn't no white man out there saying you must get diabetes, you must get high blood pressure. I'm gonna force you to go and die at an early age. Like wasn't no white man doing that to me. I got to the point where I was a willing and direct participant in my own lack of health. I was a willing direct participant in my own demise. And again, ain't nobody perfect, right? There's still always we all have work to do all the time. But one of the things you might have noticed if you were around at that time is my I got with my wife who became a peer, right? She was, it was like peer pressure in a way, but she didn't pressure me, but just being around a productive person who got up every morning and went to boot camp, being around a person who ran every morning, being around a person who ran marathons and stuff like that, that made me do more stuff. You see what I mean? And studies show, did y'all know research shows that when you are around productive people, you will become a more productive person. How about that? Surprise, surprise, right? Isn't that a shocker? That sitting around listening to negative, toxic people and being around negative, toxic people who constantly talk about what they can't do, are constantly speaking down on themselves, constantly speaking negative, constantly speaking that will put as much. Seriously, I know Negroes that will put more energy into making an excuse than they would ever put into finding a solution. You ever see people like that? Like they will make themselves exhausted. They will strain their brain at an Einstein level just to find some way to wire in the reason why the white man won't let them ever be successful in life. Right? They will do psychological mental acrobat. They will argue with you all night about why we can't do it. And I used to do that. I used to think that was what because we're black. Things have happened and they've taken things from us. And then I was like, wait, what am I doing? What am I doing? Oh my God. When I talk like this, I'm talking myself right out of success. When I talk like this, I really am becoming a white supremacist. I should get a Klan robe. I should get me a costume because I'm literally honoring, worshiping, and glorifying another group of people and working to convince myself and others that this group is so superior that there's nothing I can do. I have no ability whatsoever to ever overcome the things that they've done to me because I am weak and worthless and oppressed, and they control the keys to my success. That was something I did before I became a grown ass man. That was what I did as a little boy. That's not what I do as a grown man. I acknowledge the challenge, right? You respect your opponent. You say, gosh, buddy, Mr. White Man, you built some amazing institutions. You built banks and nuclear missiles and universities, and that's really impressive. And whoa, the redlining you did, ooh, that was a good one. And you burned down Black Wall Street, didn't you? Right? Like I can acknowledge all that, but then you got to go get to work, right? Then you got to engage in the action of consistent habit formation, right? This is what led my wife and I, my wife is a PhD level therapist, and this is what led us to create the first ever Black financial therapy department. Is we said we need to do therapy. We need to heal. We need to, before we start worrying about what everybody else has got and what everybody else is doing, we need to start with what we're doing. And that matters more anyway, because that's what you control anyway. There are, back when before DEI got obliterated, there were people that made lots of money going to universities and other institutions and telling white people why they must change their behavior. And I respect these individuals. I appreciate them. I love them so much because they're doing a job I clearly would never do. I would never be good at this job, right? But they did that, right? And the question then becomes, how effective is that actually going to be, right? How effective is it to believe that everything that you're able to accomplish is in the hands of another person, and it is dependent entirely on their goodwill and their decision to change that's going to make a difference. One thing that the research shows is that when you're in that situation, you are in a psychological trap. When you're in that psychological trap where you believe that your fate is not connected to your actions, did you know this? This is real. Look it up. You are more likely to feel depression and anxiety because you're in a cage and you can't get out of it. You don't hold the keys to your freedom on any level. And I don't think. Tell me if you agree. Tell me because I people start wanting to call me a Republican and stuff when I talk like this. No, the Republicans have no monopoly on personal accountability. Like I don't know when personal responsibility became like a Republican thing, and blaming everybody else. That's weird, right? So tell me if you agree. I think that this is something we can consider and embrace, because the thing about it is when you talk about investing, and I'm about to break some stuff down for you, and also give you some investment recommendations that go with it. But even though I don't give investing advice ever, I'll talk to you about this. We'll have a complete conversation. But I wanted to kind of start with kind of what we do and why, like why we're here, what this is for, how this works, right? So the way this works is I reached out and I said, I don't need an institution to give me permission to gather other scholars. I partner with Dr. Maurice Green, who is the president of the Black Doctoral Network. Anybody ever heard of the Black Doctoral Network? If you haven't, you should look it up. If you are in that space, if you are either a doctoral student thinking about getting a PhD, or you have one, or you're a professor or something, the Black Doctoral Network is what you should know about, because that is the largest organization in the country of Black PhDs. Every Black person in America should know about the Black Doctoral Network. So I talked to Dr. Green and I said, you do not understand, man. You got a whole HBCU right here, like in your institute, like y'all are a university in yourself. There's no university that has this many Black PhDs together. I said, so you activate this, you create something amazing. So we partnered with the Black Doctoral Network. They're going to be at the All Black National Convention. They're going to hold sessions there. A lot of their scholars are going to gather, because I said we need all hands on deck. We need all of our smartest, best, and brightest to not just bring their intellectual capital to the table until my ego free, leave the egos at the door. Negroes with egos is a no go, as Dr. Ken Harris likes to say. Negroes with egos is a no go. Bring your talent, but don't bring your ego. And let's get together. Let's solve some problems. Let's get together and let's not just bring the skill set, but let's bring the focus. Right, the focus and the intensity is what gets the job done. It's not just the ability. I can have the ability, but if I don't focus and concentrate and put my energy into solving a problem, then it won't get solved, right? So the Black community struggles for this reason. Let me break this down for you in at least a couple of ways. We struggle financially because if you look at the problem of Black wealth, particularly as Black psychology ties into Black wealth, no one has been studying that problem. There's been no academic research, very little that I can find anywhere. In peer-reviewed academic journals, this is where they study, everything from heart disease to, what the how snails grow in Somalia, right? We couldn't find anything. So my wife was working with Dr. Keith Watts at a University of Kentucky, and they were doing one of the first studies I've ever seen on the link between trauma, childhood trauma, and economic decision making. And I'm gonna bring my wife in to kind of give you an update on that study. They're gonna send it to a journal, and they're finding these really interesting linkages that are were right there in front of you, like hiding in plain sight. A lot of you probably could have guessed some of these results, but it's really important because we must lay the foundation of not just understanding the problem and solving it, but also prioritizing the problem. Why is it that every single thing on earth about a white man has been studied? Every single thing that a white woman cares about has been studied. But when it comes to things that matter for Black people and our quality of life, those things don't get studied by hardly anybody, even us. Like I get it when other communities don't want to study us, but why are we not studying us? What are our Black scholars doing, like other than working on the most important problem in society? One of the most important problems, top 10 for sure, in my opinion, is the breakdown of the Black family, the tragic loss of Black wealth, which leads to a loss of safety and security for our children. It leads to the lack of freedom that our people have. Reverend Jesse Jackson just passed. Rest his soul. He was a wonderful man. I love this man. Every conversation I ever had with him was always pleasant. And he spent his whole life talking about freedom. He spent his whole life talking about, like, what it means to be free and stuff like that, and guiding us in that way. And then he also had a famous saying, like, how Snoop Dogg, his famous saying is, "We don't love them hoes," which I don't know what value that offers other than the mass promotion of sex trafficking, right? Because he used to have a pimp that would go with him to award shows. All this is very toxic. Jesse Jackson's famous slogan was what? Anybody know what it is? Type it in the chat if you know it. Sing it if you know it. I am somebody. Remember he used to say, so if you're poor, say I am somebody. If you ain't got no money, I am somebody. If you're homeless on the street, I am somebody. If I was born in the projects, I am Somebody, right? That was Jesse's thing, right? I am somebody. And I thought about it and I said, I get it. I think that this powerful. I don't know if this is what he intended, but I like it because when you know you are somebody, when you know you are important and you matter and your legacy matters and your family history matters, then you will invest in the things that you deem to be valuable. We'll cross right over into the financial space, into the valuation space. One of my doctoral dissertation topics was something called asset pricing. How you value an asset, how you value a stock or a bond, but also how you can value a person, how you can value your life, how you value your children, how you value your family, how you value your community. And so if you believe I am somebody, that means my family must be an asset. I'm an asset, right? So if I know I'm an asset and I know that I have value and I am somebody, then I'm going to invest in that somebody, right? If you believe your community is a valuable asset, you'll invest in that community. Well, when you have a man who believes that his family is valuable, he will invest in that family. For example, the rapper 50 Cent is having this beef with a rapper I kind of know tangentially named T.I. out of Atlanta. And T.I. used to be one of my favorite rappers. 50 Cent, I've always seen him and stuff. And T.I., I met him in Ghana, but we didn't talk much. But I do know that because I think he had to go because Cardi B was in town and they were off doing stuff. I don't keep up with rapper stuff. But anyway, but I like him though. I think he got some of the financial flashcards for his kids, and so he's into the whole financial literacy thing. And so somebody asked me my opinion on this. They have this little beef going on, and they said, "Well, what do you think?" I said, "Well, I said I respect Ti a lot more because he seems like a man that's tried to grow up." And he's a man that's evolved into this family man. He's a father. He's a husband. He's building a legacy. He's investing in people. His children respect him. He's going to be a father, grandfather, great grandfather one day, and he's going to have this legacy. I said, I don't think 50 Cent has any of that. His children don't like him. He doesn't have anybody standing next to him other than some pretty lady, that he found in a rap video or something, right? He doesn't have any form of legacy to speak of, right? He's so poor. All he has is money, right? He has money, yeah, but all these things, this stuff that's happened. And then I said on the internet when I go onto his page, he has 30 million followers, and all he does is troll people and make jokes. And we're on a platform that could be used to educate and elevate and all these other things, right? So really, at the end of the day, I think that going back to the family, I think when you see the value of the family and you know you are somebody, then that means my children are somebody. My family is something that's worth investing in. And one thing about investing that's 100% true is that you will not invest in something that you believe to be worthless. Give me a yes or no. Like, tell me if you agree. If you are in a relationship and you feel like it's a worthless relationship, are you going to invest into that relationship? Are you going to invest time? Are you going to invest your attention? Are you going to invest your love? No, you're not going to do any of that, right? I invest in my wife in a way that I've never invested in any woman ever because my wife is my wife, right? Yeah, I can't invest in every person in that same way. So maybe 20 years ago, I had a relationship, and maybe there's some lady I might have dated 20 years ago who says, "Well, he never invested in me like that." Well, it's not because you're worth less at all. That everybody's valuable, but it's like no, that relationship was not worth the same as this relationship because in this relationship there's a bigger goal, there's structure, there's family. I have to make a bigger sacrifice for this. So the question is, I would say the thing to walk away with on this in terms of the link between black psychology and black wealth is I would start with questions like what matters for you? Like what is valuable for you? Right? Do you know that you are somebody? Do you know that your family is worthwhile? Is that a good investment for you? Your community, is that worthwhile? And then if you answer yes to any of those things, then I would encourage you to go back and then say, okay, am I investing in a way that is consistent with my value system? Right? I value this asset called my health, for example. Am I investing in my health? If the answer is no, then maybe there's a misalignment there. Any asset that you deem to be valuable in your life needs to be invested in. It also needs to be managed. Remember, we talked about that. That a lot of us, when we talk about building family and building legacy, we just kind of wing it. We kind of figure it out. Like, oh, I'm gonna get married and try to get along with my spouse, or I'm gonna have kids, and I hope, fingers crossed, I hope I raise them well. But yet again, when it comes to getting a job working for a white man, you'll go to school 4 years, 5 years, get an extra degree, whatever it takes to be good at that job because you know that he's not going to let you run his business if you're not qualified. He's not going to let you manage his asset if you're not prepared to manage the asset. If you aren't focused, if you aren't giving the asset the attention and showing up with the skill set, then you will not get to drive the vehicle because you'll crash it into a wall, right? Well, the same thing is true with when it comes to family. When you look at how many families crash out, I want you to ask yourself how many people invested in making sure that that asset was properly managed. When you see marriages crash out, was there an effort? Was there a structured, consistent effort to learn the skill sets required to manage a marriage? Because it must be managed. You have to have parameters, boundaries, frameworks, like processes, all that, just like you got at your job, right? So one of the things about institution building, I was actually going to talk about something else, but I'm going to get to it in a minute. But one of the things about institution building is that building institutions always requires some commitment to gaining the structured thinking necessary to build and develop that institution, to pour into it and make it grow. Also, when you look at just economic power in the Black community, one of the challenges that we still also have to look at is what does it take for us to actually create and manifest and build the institutions that we want to be a part of, as opposed to simply hoping that somebody else creates something and then we get to go participate, right? A lot of times, I think that because of how we're raised financially, we're raised to sort of look at something that's there and try to knock on the door and get people to let us in, when nobody really talks to you about the higher level of consciousness financially, which is to understand that that door is there because somebody built it, right? That door is there because you can build a door. Like you can have an institution and build a door that other people knock on, and that gives you actually a level of power that doesn't just make you successful. You transcend with your previous level. You're not competing at that level anymore. In fact, I learned something a long time ago that any obstacle that I was trying to ever overcome, or any person or situation I was ever trying to compete with, I didn't win by actually winning. I won when I transcended. I didn't win by saying, "Ha ha, I got you, I beat you, I outdid you." I actually won when I would get to the point where somebody would say, "What about so and so?" And I'd be like, "Oh yeah, I forgot about that." Right? Like you're on such another level that you're not even engaged in that game anymore. Like you're not, when you're in the NBA, you're not trying to win an NCAA championship. Tell me if you know what I'm saying, right? Like you're in the NBA, you're trying to beat the Minnesota Timberwolves. You're not trying to beat the Duke Blue Devils anymore. That's not even, you're done leveled up now. Right? Like you're like, I'm in a different game. So a lot of times the best way to win a game is not to actually win the game. It's when you transcend the game. It's when you change the game, when you elevate the game. So I would say that for Black people, if you're really trying to transcend white supremacy, and you're really trying to transcend systematic racism, the way to transcend systematic racism is not to win in the system, it's to develop an alternative system. Do you follow what I'm saying? Y'all get what I'm saying? Y'all with me right here? Let me know if you're with me. I go on these streams and for those that are new, people that are new are like, wait, I'm confused. He's supposed to be explaining how I'm supposed to keep money in my 401k. We'll get to that, I promise. We can do that. But we gotta get the mindset right, right? So do you understand? Like really, you have systematic racism, and we're trying to survive in the system and overcome the system, fight the system. And I'm like, well, just leave the damn system. Like build another system. That's gonna be hard too. That's another battle. It's probably gonna be just as hard as the previous battle. It will, right? Whether you're fighting to survive in a toxic environment or you're trying to fight to create a new environment, both of those choices are hard. Right? Both of those choices are gonna probably stress you out a little bit. The difference is that choice one um, forces you to live inside a cage that is restricted. I'm sound mathematical now, but I have to say it. You're restricted by the dimensionality of that cage. You're in a world that you can't get out of, and you're fighting to survive in this world without really taking the time to elevate and become conscious enough to say, should I even be in this world? Like you've probably gone through this in a relationship. Like you ever been in a relationship where you fight with somebody so much and so long that you just get exhausted and you're like, oh my God, this is stressing me out. This is going to kill me. And then one day you wake up and you're like, wait a minute, I don't even have to be here. Like, hey, wait, gone, right? And then at that point, you're not even fighting them anymore. They're like, wait, she's so nice now. Wait, she's not stressing me out anymore. That's because she done checked out, man. She done went to another hotel. She's out of here. And you're gonna be shadow boxing now because I'm not even participating in this game with you. And that's what I visualize when I see us going to work every day, working for the same white folks and fighting the battle and getting all stressed out and everything else. And I'm telling you, like, sometimes you got to check out. Sometimes you got to say, man, I'll see you later, right? And this is where you get access. You unlock the keys to a level of economic and relational power that you've never had before. That's really truly where you really have become something you've transformed and really you even get to the point where you oddly become appreciative of the struggle that you've had because without going through the struggle and being pushed to the breaking point, you never would have made the impactful decision to leave that toxic relationship. Right. So there's not a single I've had, they always act like women are the only ones that can be abused in a relationship. And I don't agree with that. Tell me if you agree. I think there are men that get abused too. I don't know. I don't know if anybody agrees, but but let's stop acting like women, men are the only ones that can abuse somebody. There's some toxic, nasty, mean people in the world. And I can say I've been abused. I'm not a victim. I don't call myself a victim, but Lord Jesus, I can think of times where I was really hurt very deeply. And the thing about that is I have no ill will toward anybody that ever abused me. Right? I don't because I look at it and I say thank you for doing that because you forced me to grow. You forced me to move into a situation where I would find the life that I was truly supposed to have. Right? So the same thing is true when it comes to me talking to you. I wouldn't even be talking to you if white folks had been nice to me my whole entire life. Like if I had gone to Syracuse University and been embraced the way I wanted to be embraced, loved the way I wanted to be loved, treated the way I wanted to be treated, got raises and promotions, and they celebrated me being there, I would probably still be there. I'd probably still be, I'd be so busy teaching, white kids at Syracuse that I wouldn't have time to be doing this every day, right? So it was the mistreatment that actually pushed me to say, okay, I got to figure this out. I got to get out of here. This is not fun anymore, right? So I would encourage you. I'm not saying that you should sit around and be thankful for racism. I'm not saying that sounds crazy, but I would say every situation you're ever in is a growth opportunity. Every situation, I don't care what it is, every situation that you're ever in is an opportunity, and you have a choice. It can either be an expense or an investment. If you don't grow from it and learn from it and become better because of it, then it becomes an expense, becomes a loss. But if you can find a way to build on that and say, okay, what lessons, God, did you give me by putting me through this hellfire? Because this was not fun. And you build on that and you build in a constructive way, then I guarantee you will find yourself elevating every single time, right? So framing, this is another psychological concept. Framing is a really important way to kind of approach damn near anything. Everything is a blessing if you shape it in that way. You just got it. Sometimes you got to dig a little bit harder for some blessings than others. But I guarantee you the gold is almost always underneath that ground. So you just got to dig for it. Okay. All right. So anyway, that's my 2 cents on wealth. That's my thought. And I really think that Black financial psychology has to be studied at a very deep level. My dream, my goal is I'd love in 100 years for there to be, dozens of universities across the United States where all they're doing is they're sitting in there, they're studying wealth in the Black community, the mindset behind it, the planning, the structure, and everything. And it's going to happen because what's going to happen is one of your kids or one of your grandkids is here right now. They're 7 years old, maybe they're 12. They're listening to this. They're taking all this in. This is the foundational aspect of their learning. And then when they get to about 30, 40 years old, they're going to be worth $500 billion, maybe a trillion, right? By that time, trillionaires will be everywhere. Or not everywhere, but there'll be quite a few of them. And they're going to say, oh, I remember these things that I learned when I was a kid. So now I'm going to institutionalize that and I'm going to put $100 billion into building these institutions that are going to dig deep into the things that matter to me. Why? Because they know I am somebody. Shout out to Jesse Jackson. And because I am somebody, then my issues matter. And because my issues matter, the issues of my people matter. Because without these people that surrounded me, loved me, and elevated me, I wouldn't be where I am right now. So you are somebody. And when you know you're somebody, you focus on building for yourself and the people around you. You're not spending all your time looking for love in all the wrong places. Make sense? I hope that makes sense. All right. Thank you for listening to that. I did not even plan on talking about that, but sometimes when something comes to you, you just gotta break it down. You just gotta be honest about it. All right. So before we go to Instagram real quick, I want to let everybody know. you have one more day to take a look at the Black Wealth Starter Kit if this is something that interests you. And it's a bundle David put together that consists of some flashcards, workbooks, things like that. It's been pretty steeply discounted. And so you get an autographed copy of my book, The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. I'll sign it and send it to your house. You also get 4 sets of our financial flashcards. We have financial flashcards on what is it on in these are for investing, entrepreneurship, credit and money. Or yeah, there we go. So entrepreneurship, finance, credit, and investing. There we go. So you get 4 sets of financial flashcards. You also get the Wealth Builder workbooks by grade. So here you would scroll down and you pick the grade you want. So if your child's first to third grade, you pick that. Fourth to fifth grade, you click on that. Middle school and high school. So at all grade levels, we have this set up. So I'm going to share the link inside the chat. So feel free to take a look and share this with your family. And this can be something that you can do as you kind of build out your own training camp inside your house and get your family ready when it comes to economics or your grandkids, things like that. We spent years putting this together, so I hope you guys like it. So I'm gonna put it in here, and also I'll text it out. Make sure you're on the text list for this class. Text the word morning to the number 87948. So make sure you text morning to 87948. All right, so let's talk about something that I wanted to bring up. There is a global water shortage happening throughout the world, and you should know about this. Dr. Claude Anderson, who wrote the book Powernomics, he actually wrote about this and talked about this. He's been talking about this for like 30 years. And literally, basically, um, you're just running out of water, out of fresh, clean water. And right now, according to UNICEF, there's about 2.2 billion people worldwide that don't have access to safely managed drinking water, which is just insane. 2 billion people. That's so sad. That's horrible. So don't forget about how blessed you are. My gosh. Roughly 4 billion people experience severe water scarcity at least 1 month per year. 4 billion people, water scarcity. So that means local water demand exceeds available supply. So as I sit here and I've got this bottle of Essentia water and I get to stay hydrated, that is a blessing. That is a blessing. Um, Next, agriculture accounts for about 70% of the global freshwater withdrawals, which puts enormous pressure on a lot of rivers, lakes, and groundwater systems. So agriculture sucks up a lot of the water. Also, NASA satellite data has shown that 21 of the 37 largest aquifers are being depleted faster than they can recharge. That threatens long-term water security in major regions. So the majority of water aquifers are losing more water than they're resupplying. So this is a big deal. Now, if you want to know why this water shortage is happening, one is climate change, just rising temperatures, longer droughts. The glaciers are shrinking. I mean, we're just doing a really good job of destroying the planet. It's kind of unfortunate. I can't change it. This is just the way the world is working right now. Overuse in agriculture, irrigation for food production, it consumes the majority of fresh water globally, which is a problem as well. It leads to inefficient systems and heavy groundwater pumping. Uh, Three, population growth and urbanization. More people, if you have more people, that means there's a bigger demand for drinking water, sanitation, food production, et cetera, and industry, and that puts a stress on the supply. And then there's pollution and contamination, industrial waste, agricultural runoff, inadequate wastewater, et cetera. And then also, you guys know AI does, Tiffany, you're correct, it takes up a lot of your water as well, right? So literally, when you do a search on ChatGPT, there's a measure. They're like, it takes half a glass of water or something. I don't know. So, but basically, I think it relates to the cooling of the data centers, right? So the data centers, they have a couple of issues with the data centers. One is extreme energy consumption. They take up a lot of energy. That's why a lot of people don't want the data centers in their neighborhoods because of the energy that they suck up, and it pushes the utility bills up, and then also the use of water because they need the water to cool off keep the systems cool. But then there's other stuff with data centers. There's just even getting enough concrete to pour to build the data centers. That's an issue, right? There's so many different areas that are supply constrained because of the massive data center build, and they're not going to stop. I know that they're talking about trying to build data centers in space, which eventually, probably in 50 years, a new problem will emerge. There'll be so much space junk out there that they'll be trying to figure out how to clean that up, which I don't know. It's a crazy world. But either way, though, this is what's happening. This is the world you live in. This is what it is. Now, assuming I can't fix this problem myself, other than by telling you to be conservative with water and whatever, I wanted to mention a couple of investments you can make if your goal is to be positioned so that your portfolio can possibly be impacted by these trends, which I don't know any way we can stop that individually, right? So again, I say this carefully because I don't want anybody to say or to think that we're sitting here saying, "Ooh, let's find another terrible thing that we can make money from." This is not it. The goal is not to be greedy. This is a tragic issue, but my job is to objectively tell you which way the puck is going so you can decide if you want to swing at it. Does that make sense? Let me know if you understand where I'm coming from because I don't want you to think that this is not a class that's all about money. I clearly just spent 20 minutes explaining that it's bigger than the money. I think it's about things that money can't buy. But the thing about money that's interesting is that money becomes such an obsession for people that they will pursue money at the expense of things that are much more valuable than money, if that makes sense, right? So I don't think that's a good investment move for you or for your family. So here are some assets you can invest in that can allow you to help your portfolio from this. One is a company called Xylem Inc. The ticker symbol is XYL. Somebody type XYL in the chat. XYL. It's a global water tech company that provides infrastructure, treatment systems, and pump analytics for clean and wastewater. So another one is American Water Works. The ticker symbol is AWK. I know somebody put AWK in the chat. AWK is the largest water and wastewater utility provider in the U.S. with a broad footprint and long-term demand for clean water. Another one is Essential Utilities, WTGR, sorry, WTRG, WTRG, WTRG. Somebody type that in if you could. It's a regulated utility operating water and wastewater services across multiple states. So here's what I did with those stocks. I bought them for my niece, nephew, and grandkids. I don't know if this is like the kind of exciting investment that's going to make money for you next Tuesday. I see this as a longer term trend. And if you know investing is a long-term game. It's not a week-long game or 2 week game. It's gonna be it's a 5 year, 10 year, 20 year game, right? So I bought these stocks mainly so that the kids can own these over the next 20 years because as you all know from the 5 year pledge, if you invest $500 a month consistently for your child for 5 years, theoretically you would have between 35 and $40,000, let's say 30 to 35 to be conservative. And then after 10 years, you're approaching $100,000. After 20 years, you're approaching over $300,000. After 30 years, you're up to somewhere around a million, 1.1 million, depending on what the market does. And then after 40 years, you're reaching $3.2 million approximately. Let's be conservative and say two to 2.5 million. So that right there is your formula for fixing generational wealth. The only thing that you have to do then is make sure you're consistent with your investing. If you do that, then you'll be fine. All right. So with that being said, let's go to Instagram. Let's see. There's something I wanted to show you really quick. All right. So my Instagram is Dr. Boyce Finance, and I'm on Substack, by the way. I'm gonna keep mentioning that just because I think only like a few people follow me on Substack. But the greens got me to open up a Substack, so y'all got to join me over there. It's pretty cool actually. It's pretty nice. It's like a good platform for people that actually want to think. Because if you go on Twitter, Twitter is kind of a cesspool and a shit show at the same time. Like Twitter is very traumatic. Like Twitter, you go in there and first thing you see is people fighting and launching nuclear missiles at each other and the culture war. I've concluded. Here's what I figured out. I figured out that the culture wars and the political wars, a lot of them kind of only exist on the internet. Has anybody ever noticed this? Tell me if you notice this, that on the internet, you see a lot of anger and toxicity and people really saying ugly things about each other. But then when you get into real life, people are like actually nice to each other. Like you can meet somebody and like I'll meet a regular white dude and he might be a Democrat or a Republican and it doesn't, we're talking about, like, I have my Ohio State jacket on because, the Buckeyes are the greatest football program ever, right with Indiana Hoosiers. I'm flexing big time now because I met my wife in Indiana. I got my doctorate at Ohio State. We're living on cloud nine in college football. And I saw a guy who had a Michigan hat on. And he was an old white guy. And he gave me a funny look. He looked at me, he went, like that, right? And of course, you'd be like, why are you looking at me like that? You calling me a nigga inside your head? I'm kidding. I don't think that way. But still, I was like, damn, why is this guy looking at me like that? And he was doing it on purpose, right? Because he thought that I saw his hat that said Michigan. And I was like, oh, you have a Michigan hat. So we went up and we just made like a little joke about it, right? So literally in the real life, I've noticed that toxicity online doesn't exist most of the time when regular people are dealing with regular people, which really says in the age of AI, you've got to remember that you're human and you got to go connect with other humans because I believe the internet is being heavily manipulated. I believe that. I believe that there are foreign actors who are running bots all throughout the web that are designed to just piss you off and get black people and white people fighting and people from different groups fighting over whatever. And then also I just think that maybe another side, like you have the darkest people that really are miserable and unhappy, and I think that that darkness kind of comes out when they become like Twitter gangsters. But I think that when we get together as humans, it's so much more of a pleasant experience. And when you mix that with what's going on right now, I don't know if you guys know this, but Mark Zuckerberg is in congressional hearings because they're talking about the addictions of social media and how harmful that can be to society. I think what this really says is that we're starting to learn that social media is something you should look at as maybe a vice that can be healthy or unhealthy depending on how you use it, and you have to really practice consciously monitoring your emotional reactions to the things that you see, because there's proof that shows that these algorithms are designed to make you angry because they know that that's going to cause you to like and share and comment, which is what drives their revenue from the advertisers. At some point, this will all be a lot of this will be made illegal, maybe I don't know, and probably be regulated. Just like cars, when cars first came along, people were driving sideways down the street and running over people's horses and just doing all kinds of crazy stuff with their cars. But then eventually they said, okay, maybe we need to regulate this. Same thing with airplanes. Like airplanes were new; they didn't have an FAA, so anybody that could get an airplane could just fly up and do whatever they want. Now you can't do that anymore. Now, I when I got my pilot's training, a big chunk of the time was spent learning all the rules and regulations that are in place from the FAA, which were designed to keep everybody safe so that I don't get in a plane and go crash into a freeway or something, right? So ultimately, I think social media will be regulated, but I would encourage you to just kind of pay attention to that. So that's what I noticed. And I think humans getting together with humans is really a healthy approach. So anyway, with that being said, speaking of social media, one thing I want to mention too, if you want just thoughts on investing, a lot of you have wondered like what's going on with Bitcoin. Is Bitcoin going to die? I don't think it is, but I will say this: I'm interested in Ethereum. And if you look at Ethereum, because the ecosystem is just so much stronger. So, but if you look at Ethereum, look at this, it's down 60% in the last 6 months. So I see this as a buying opportunity. I really do. I really think now over the last 5 years, it's gone up a little bit, 31% though. That's not a ton. So what I here's how I'm doing Ethereum. I'm gonna buy a whole bunch of it and then I'm gonna hedge it. I'm gonna buy a whole bunch of it and I'm not gonna hedge it right away. I'm gonna hedge it a little bit now, but once it starts to take off again, which I believe that it will, I believe it's gonna be hot again. When it shoots up, I'm gonna start buying put options all the way as it goes up. I'm gonna keep buying put options because what will probably occur is that as it goes up, it's gonna crash again. It seems like crypto just has these up cycles and down cycles, and so in my view, if you're smart, when you're in a down cycle, you prepare for the up cycle. When you're in an up cycle, you prepare for the down cycle. And a good investor doesn't respond to what's happening right now unless it is positioning them for what's gonna happen after right now is over. That makes sense. Like a good investor isn't just investing for the moment, they're looking at the moment after the moment. But you use the moment to get to the moment after the moment. You're using the present to prepare for the future. That's the point. So things a person can do is you buy some Ethereum now, and maybe you hedge it a little bit and buy some puts or something. If you don't know, if you're not sure about that, we have a whole stock market class. We meet every Tuesday and do stock market stuff. So feel free to go to the URL above my head, drboystockmarket.com. It's a lot of fun. You guys will like it. But anyway, and then when it goes up, and you're making money, you don't sit there and just hope that times stay good because it's shown you that no, the good times will pass. Eventually, they're going to be over and you're going to go back to the bad times. So, what you can do is you can buy put options while you're up there and just buy something that's going to protect you so that when the bad times hit, you're kind of sheltered. That's why I think when you look at Ethereum, the fact that it's only made 31% over the last 5 years, that's not very much money. But if you had sold 6 months ago or hedged 6 months ago, then you would be able to enjoy maybe 100% ROI, 120%, right? But you lost a lot of your gains because you kept buying and holding and not protecting when times are good. When times are always good, this is really a good financial management principle. They call it income smoothing. A smart person with money, and I haven't always been smart. A lot of us haven't always been smart because a lot of money management is very emotional. Like, how do you regulate your emotions? How much consciousness do you have? How much resilience do you have? Are you committed to preparation or are you lazy about it, right? A lot of these things are not things you're taught in school. These are personality traits. These are value systems that you have to choose to embrace or ignore, right? So ultimately, financial discipline would say that when I'm doing well, I'm storing my nuts for the winter. I'm preparing for when things are not going to be well. And when things are not well, I don't freak out. I just prepare for when things are going to eventually get better. I make my investments before the boom, not after. The idea of investing during the boom is that's not gonna typically work. Like that's not like you'll show up after all the money's been made because then people are gonna make money from you because the price has gone up and they're gonna be selling to you because you're the person buying at 100 when they bought at 50, right? So that balance is really important. I saw this show one time. Did y'all know that there are people, they're mostly white people to be honest with you. They will go and find the most remote part of Alaska and will go live out there. And they don't actually have to, they just do it because they just like that stuff. And they will, no disrespect if you are an outdoor type person, but they will go out there where there's nothing out there. There's no stores, there's no businesses, there's no utilities, there's no nothing. And they go out there and they build these cabins and they use firewood and they have to get everything that they need. Every single thing you need, you got to get it because there is no nothing nearby. There's no civilization nearby. So I was watching this show and it was really fascinating watching how these people live. I don't want to live like that, but I watch it. It's really interesting. And so this couple, this guy married this lady, and she didn't want to do any of that. She wanted to live in the city and live the soft life, but she loved this man. You know, love will make us do crazy stuff. So she moves out to the wilderness in Alaska with this dude because she just loves him that much. Well, the problem was she made a bad investment because this dude was so lazy. And here's the thing about living in the remote part of Alaska, is that this is an investing conversation, I promise you, but I think it's a fascinating story. So the thing about living in Alaska in the wilderness is that there's not a lot of sunshine there. There's not a lot of time where you actually have the ability to go out and do stuff because the weather gets so bad in the winter. So basically, my conclusion is these people spent 6 months of the year just getting ready for the winter. Like every single day you got up and it's like, gotta get firewood for the winter, gotta get some fish and freeze the fish, gotta go hunt a bear and cut the bear meat and freeze the bear meat for the winter. It's all about winter, 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 winter. Well, unfortunately, this lady, she picked a bad asset, which was her marriage and her husband, and this lazy son of a bitch wasn't doing anything. He was just kind of messing around and wasn't getting ready. So winter came and they had no food. They ran out of food and because he was such a bad investor, he didn't understand financial consciousness. He didn't understand like you've got to get ready, prepare for the future. And really, you think about this, a lot of people struggle because they didn't prepare. They struggle, they struggle for retirement because when you were 23, 24, 25, 30, 33, 34, you weren't storing for the winter. It's hard to do. I'm not judging. It's just a fact, right? Maybe our health goes bad because we didn't prepare. Maybe our we get older. I like when I talked about that rapper 50 Cent, I said he's living in the present, but one day he's going to be an old man, maybe in a retirement home, and he won't have any legacy. There will be no kids visiting him. He won't have a woman there to be with him or whatever, right? And so when he gets to that stage in life where somebody has to change his diapers and all this other stuff, there'll be nobody there because there was no investment made at that time. So anyway, going back to the white people in the woods, so this guy, his wife, just as a side note, this is not relevant at all, but I thought it was interesting. So this poor lady, so you know what he did when they didn't have any food? He went and he found a pigeon and he bought this little scrawny little pigeon home and he had his wife like cook this pigeon for them to eat for dinner. And they were about to eat their pigeon, and the fire's going off in the background. And he's like, and they did a little toast. They had these little tiny pigeon bones. They're like really small, and they're about to eat the meat off this pigeon bone. And she's pissed off. She's like, I'm sitting here eating this nasty ass pigeon with this man, and then he's like, he goes, honey, dinner for two, and then he's trying to make a good like experience out of it, but it wasn't. It was terrible, and they had to go ice fishing in the middle of winter to find their food. So what they did was they got on a snowmobile, and they had to go 20 miles to the lake, and they had to spend 3 days in a little tent on top of the ice fishing to find food because this son of a bitch did not prepare for the winter. So the moral of the story is that when it comes to investing, you got to prepare for the winter because the winter is always coming. The winter is always coming. When people talk about stock market crashes, of course there's going to be crashes. That's a side effect of capitalism. Capitalism is built to give you these amazing opportunities where you're making more money than ever, and then but it always comes back with a crash. So capitalism is kind of like an economic drug. It's an economic crack pipe. You get higher than ever, but then the crash is always coming. So make sure you're ready for the crash. But when the crash happens, it's not the end of the world. It's just when you prepare for the next stage. You start investing and building and getting ready for when the opportunities come back because they almost always come back. You know, the one positive side of American capitalism is that we're just damn good at making money. Nobody's better at making money than Americans are because we sacrifice for that. We sacrifice our quality of life and everything else. I don't agree with any of that. I don't think you should. That's why I'm not a capitalist, actually. I want to make that clear. I'm not a capitalist. But but if you can have balance, if you have psychological balance, relational balance, balance in your physical and mental health, then capitalism can be an accelerant to allow you to get access to the things that really matter to you the most, right? So it's up to you to decide what to do with all that wealth once you get it. Okay. All right. So let's finish up for today. We're all done. I wanted to let's see. I want to make sure I mentioned everything. Okay, great. Oh, by the way, I'm going to keep reminding you. South Africa is coming up in May. So if you want to go with us to South Africa, just go to b1voyages.com, be the number one voyages.com. We have a couple other trips as well. So feel free to take a look at that. You can also text the word travel to the number 87948. So text travel to 87948. And also, I'll send you all the texts at some point if you want to join our next stock options cohort. We just finished our last cohort of Coin, the Certified Options Investing Network. If you want to join the next one and bring your family, then I'll send you guys the link and you can join. We cap it at 50 students, so we're almost filled up, but I'll send you the link if you want to participate. All right, so have a good day, everybody. God bless you. Thank you so much for listening to me. I didn't anticipate having so many stories today. I hope that they were relevant, though. I hope that they work. But then sometimes I got to do something a little goofy because sometimes I get super serious and I don't want us to be all sad and depressed and mad at the end of the day. Like life is a joy. I want you to enjoy your life, enjoy your wealth, be at peace, find your happiness, and all that it lives inside of you. So let's go get it. All right. So God bless you. Have a great day. I'll see you all tomorrow morning. Take care, everybody. Bye bye.